Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Saturday, May 12th, 2012. This is episode 873. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by ShareFile.com. Enhance your workflow, send files of almost any size easily and securely with ShareFile. Brought to you by Citrix. Try ShareFile today. You'll get a 30-day free trial plus double storage when you use my offer at ShareFile.com. Click the radio microphone and enter the promo code TechGuy. And by Gazelle.com. Gazelle's the easy way to sell your iPhone, iPod, iPad, or Android smartphone from your home or office so you can get the latest versions. Get a risk-free quote that's good for 30 days at Gazelle.com. Hello, everybody. Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And it's time to talk computers and the internet and cell phones and stuff. I have a longer list, but I really have to rewrite it. Camcorders? No. I don't think we'll be talking about camcorders. Digital photography, for sure. 88, oh boy. 88, yes, spit it out, Leo, says Beth. 88. Ask Leo, that's the number. Spell it out, 888-827-5536, toll free. From anywhere in the U.S., outside the U.S., of course, you can always call me with Skype, and it'll get to me somehow, magically. But the thing to remember is, well, there are two things, 8888 Ask Leo, and then the other is our website. In its waning days, and I know I say this I've been saying it for 3 or 4 years now, in its waning days, the Tech Guy Labs, it's at techguylabs.com. And, when I compare it to the new techguylabs.com, it just, it makes me weep. It's so horrible. But the new one's going to be so great. You're going to love it. The new one will give you a chance to comment, which I think will make a big difference. Much easier to find things. And that new Tech Guy Labs site launches pretty soon, I think like in 2 weeks. We have to start putting data in and so forth. But it'll give you a chance to do all the things you do right now on the website, which is join the chat room, watch live, listen live, and most importantly, find what was that thing Leo was talking about? What was that thing? You can go there and search. We've got tags, so you can search by topic. We've got topics, so you can search by topic. Wait a minute, that makes no sense. You can search by date, time. We'll even have transcriptions. And the most important thing from my point of view is that you'll get a chance to comment on the answers that I give on the show. Because really what this show is pretty much, if you're new to it, is Q&A. Just nonstop questions and answers about this rapidly changing world of technology. And, I don't have any special mojo. But, well, I do. Actually, I do. I have some special mojo that helps me answer those questions. It's called the Chat Room, 1,000 strong. These people are very smart. And you can join them. That link is on techguylabs.com. And if I can't come up with an answer, and goodness knows there's enough going on in this world of tech that I probably miss half the questions, just go, I don't know. Somebody in the chat room will. Somebody in our vast listening audience will. I bet you there's very few things we can't answer. That's why we get the tough questions, the ones no one else could answer either. If it's about computers or technology or home theater, Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, is coming up in just a little bit. I've been setting up my own home theater with a 120-inch screen in my studio apartment. Yeah, it's my man cave. It's kind of fun. I'll talk about that just in a little bit. 8888 Ask Leo is the number. Well, now the latest with T-Mobile is perhaps I feel so bad for. I like T-Mobile. There's 4 cell phone companies in the U.S., 4 big ones anyway. There's a lot of little ones. There's of course, the biggest, which is AT&T, and it's only the biggest because it has the iPhone and had the iPhone since 2007. Then there's Verizon, which used to be the biggest, I think they're probably pretty much neck and neck now that Verizon has the iPhone. And then there's the also-ran, Sprint and T-Mobile. And they're struggling. Sprint's got the iPhone, spent a lot of money on it. In fact, they spent so much money, I think, what was it, a couple of billion, more than that maybe even, to get the iPhone in commitments to purchases, that the shareholders at Sprint were so angry that they made the CEO, Dan Hesse, take a multi-million-dollar pay cut this year. You spent our money. You know what? They should have given him a pay raise, because I'll tell you, that's probably the only thing holding Sprint together at this point. And then there's T-Mobile that doesn't have the iPhone. And that's, in this day and age, that's the kiss of death. T-Mobile's got a lot of good phones. They're, maybe they don't have the best coverage map compared to, say, Sprint or Verizon or AT&T, but, it's not bad. The AT&T, of course, was trying to buy them, offered $39 billion with a B dollars last year. And the regulators basically made it so tough they gave up. They said, forget about it. Nevertheless, I guess maybe thinking that T-Mobile was going to become AT&T, I don't know what. T-Mobile lost 500,000 customers last quarter. 500,000, that's a lot. 500,000 customers in last quarter. Now, they have 33.5 million, so they could lose that many for a little longer. But still, it doesn't look good. So Deutsche Telekom, which is the German telecom company that owns T-Mobile, is now apparently discussing a merger. The AT&T sale didn't happen. This is interesting. A merger with Metro PCS. Remember I said there were a lot of little small ones? There are. Boost Mobile, Metro PCS, Virgin. Some of them are actually owned by the big phone companies like Virgin. Some of them are on their own, like Metro PCS. Be an interesting merger, wouldn't it? I don't know how big. Metro PCS is. It can't be anywhere near that size, but combined, they might be a little stronger than individuals are. Sprint, what about Sprint and T-Mobile merging, right? Well, they talked last year, but also realized it's not going to happen because of regulation. We need we need more competition, not less, in the cell phone space, that's for sure. I'm waiting for somebody like Google or Apple, somebody with a lot of money. Apple has more than $100 billion in the bank. I think it's more like $120 billion in the bank now. They could actually go out and buy one of these companies or even start their own. I'm surprised they haven't. There were rumors that was something that Steve Jobs was considering before they released the iPhone in 2007. He didn't want to get in bed with AT&T. Nobody wants to get in bed with AT&T. They eat crackers in bed. They're not the kind of company you want to. So Apple for a while looked at what would it take to start our own, and they decided it was just too expensive. But maybe now. The Deutsche Telekom would swap stocks with Metro PCS. It'd be more of a merger than a purchase. I think this cell phone space is due for massive disruption. We're already seeing it. Who was it that said I think it was AT&T's CEO said he loses sleep every night worrying about the changing cell phone market. One of the things that bugs him, of course, is Apple's iMessage. See, when you're Apple, you're the 800-pound gorilla. You could pretty much tell these phone companies what you're going to do. Nobody else can do that. Samsung even can't do that, but Apple can. And Apple released a program called iMessage. I don't know. It's not very good, but they released it that lets you send text messages without using the very pricey text messaging that AT&T offers. Randall Stevenson is the CEO of AT&T, says, you lie awake at night worrying about what it is that will disrupt your business model. Apple's iMessage is a classic example. If you're using iMessage, you're not using one of our messaging services, right? That's, now listen carefully to these words, disruptive to our messaging revenue stream. I'll translate. We can't charge the exorbitant rates we charge for text messaging anymore. If I figured it out once. if you're paying their flat rate for text messaging, 20 cents a message, that's 20 cents times 160 characters or 160 bytes. It's well over $1,000 a megabyte you're paying. It doesn't cost them that much. It's pure profit. It's pure profit. So of course he's worried about it. He ought to worry about it. I'm so upset I cannot sleep at night that we cannot rip off our customers like we used to. 8888 Ask Leo. We'll take your calls right after this.
Cell phones ringing in the pockets of the dead. Cell phones ringing in the pockets of the dead. Hey, hey!
And we're going to take those people,
Hey, hey, hey.
dead or not, for every penny they've got. Do they charge an early termination fee if you pass away halfway through your cell phone contract? I wouldn't be surprised if they do. They do. That's shocking. That's just shocking. Hey, you got the phone. I don't care if you're dead. Hand it over. I love it. AT&T's CEO Randall Stevenson says, yeah, you lose sleep. You know the other thing I did that I regret? Offering unlimited data for the iPhone when it came out. That was a bad idea. He says if he has one regret as CEO of AT&T, it was offering unlimited data on the iPhone. Oh, gosh, my only regret was how we introduced pricing in the beginning. He says, "quote because This is, by the way, he's speaking when he says this at a conference of billionaires." So this is a CEO. It's the Michael Milken Global Conference, right? Michael Milken's the guy who remember in the 80s went to jail for bilking consumers with junk bonds. Now he's having a global conference with big time CEOs. Go figure. And so I think Randall Stevenson, maybe a little, maybe he probably thought, oh, it's a bunch of billionaires. I could tell the truth here. My only regret was how we introduced pricing in the beginning, because how did we introduce pricing? $30, and you can get all you can eat. I can just hear the tears. And it's a variable cost model. Every additional megabyte you use in this network, I have to invest capital. I'm curious what AT&T's quarterly results were. I have a feeling they probably did all right, selling that iPhone thing. Let's see, AT&T profit up. Oh, higher than expected profit, helped by iPhone sales. Oh, really, Randall? AT&T's, let me just put this in perspective. The margin, the amount of money they make on mobile service, 41.6%. My only regret is that we're not making 80% off of you guys. 4.3 million new iPhones activated this quarter. Verizon, 3.2 million iPhones activated. The other problem they don't like is that Apple makes money on this. This is another thing. If wireless companies hate consumers, the only people they hate more than consumers are the people who are Apple, because they're holding their feet to the fire. AT&T's net income, $3.58 billion. That's up from 3.4 a year earlier. But if we'd only ripped people off more for their data, we could have made so much more money. Josh in Los Angeles, our first call of the day. Hello, Josh. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Josh.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it. I wanted to first tell you, thank you so much. I've actually taken years of advice from you and did a do-it-yourself project, and I've sold a couple hundred copies so far.
Hey, that's great. Oh, that's wonderful. How did you publish it?
I went through a third party, which I wouldn't do again. I would do it myself, but because they sell it through all these other platforms, but I haven't sold any books on them that you've never heard of.
Right.
But I'm going to do it on my own next time. And that's kind of my question is, the website I used for the book I don't really like, and I do like using iWeb, but which I like. But that was my question.
Apple's killing it. I don't think Apple even. Yeah. And the negative on iWeb. Look, I loved iWeb. I thought Apple really did a nice job with it. What it was designed to do. It was part of the iLife package of programs. Pages and numbers and Keynote.
Right.
And what Apple's intent was to have anybody be able to kind of push button make a gorgeous site. And it is truly gorgeous, very easy for anybody to use, and it had all sorts of nice features. But it did something that I think is wrong. And there are other, Microsoft did the same thing early on with Front Page, their website creator. They wanted to make it functional and easy and powerful, and in Apple's case, beautiful. But they also made it so that when you create a site with it, you can't then migrate to any other tool. You're forevermore stuck with iWeb, because and the same thing happened with Front Page early on. Microsoft changed that later, but was that once you made a site with it, you had to keep using that program. Now that's really a problem with iWeb, because Apple's, basically they haven't mentioned iWeb in 3 years, which tells me they ain't gonna do nothing with it. So I would not. So you want to make a site to promote the book?
Well, I have one to promote the book, and I don't like it. I used it through Yahoo, and it's just very limiting, and it's not good enough for me. It's too simple, and I'm not technically savvy, but this is just even below my level, and I can't do a lot of things I want to do with it.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? Is that if you don't want to become a webmaster, you're then you're stuck using tools that might limit you severely, right?
Right.
Well, okay. Now, I almost hate to do this because they are a sponsor, but first of all, let me see your site. What's the name of your site, Josh?
It's scamptochamp.com.
Scamp?
Scamp, like scamp, like a little,
champ.
kids like scamp.
.com. I like the name. How one puppy gave hope to the blind and other real life animal stories. Oh, that's neat.
I interviewed a woman who raised guide dogs and a police dog guy who owns police dogs and animal rescuers and things like that. So
you should sell more than 100 of these. This is great, and you sell it on the iBook store.
iBook store, Amazon,
Barnes and Noble.
I'm donating some money to Guide Dogs for the Blind.
That's great, and it's only $1.99. I love this. All right, so. Oh, and I love this. You put chapters online so people can read.
Yes, that was some of your advice, so thank you for that.
Excellent. And then you have a bonus story that's not in the book. This is really nice. Okay, first of all, it's a very simple page. You could easily duplicate this anywhere.
Okay.
Anywhere. I mean, WordPress.com, Blogger.
One of the pages I actually wanted to make 4 columns, and Yahoo wouldn't let me, and it was such a rigmarole. And
yeah, I'm not crazy about Yahoo. So I would look at Squarespace.com. It's not free.
Okay.
They are a sponsor, but what Squarespace, one thing you can do is they do have a free trial for 2 weeks, so you can, and literally you can import all your content right into it. And then for you, if you got the year plan, it's $8 a month, so it's not hugely expensive. But
that's what Amazon charges you.
Yeah. So I think Squarespace is better. It doesn't use iWeb. You can import and export your content. The tool, now, in some ways the tool is similar in the sense that the site you design only works on Squarespace. So that, so I would there are other choices. There's WordPress.com, which is free. And they do some amazing stuff, I have to say, and they're absolutely free. There's Blogspot, which is Google's choice, and they have some new templates that are quite gorgeous. That's also free. I might try Blogspot just to see, because it's Google, it's going to search well, just to see how that works for you. All of these you can try for free. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Now, here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Scott. Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, the man who takes over for me when I am indisposed or in Norway. One or the other.
In flagrante.
In flagrante or Norway, that's when I give the microphone to Scott. Hey, Scott.
Oh, and I'm always so happy to do it.
Well, we just love the home theater stuff. He's the online editor for Home Theater Magazine at hometheater.com. And I was just telling him I went to hometheater.com because I needed to get speakers for... I'm doing a low-end projection system because I want to,
Yeah, it's kind of on the low end, but you're really making some good decisions, I think.
I want to see how cheap I can get a 120-inch screen. Okay, and
you've
that's
really
10
done
feet, by the way, kids. That's 10 feet diagonal, so it's big.
Yep, it's big.
And so
you're
far-
sitting you're about 15 feet away. You said lying in bed
I'm
watching
actually in
movies.
bed. And it's funny because I took a picture of my 55-inch plasma,
Right.
and then I had the NBA playoffs on the projector, and I had the projector over on top of the plasma just to see, and it makes the plasma look tiny. I mean,
Tiny.
We're talking
Tiny.
so much bigger. Now it is darker. I bought a now. So here's the budget thing, and we talked a little bit about this. I apologize for folks who say, "Oh, you're repeating yourself," but I bought a screen from Monoprice. I was going to paint the wall with the screen goo, but then it was about the same price for a screen.
And a lot more work to paint the wall nicely.
I didn't want to paint the wall, so
Right.
yeah, exactly. So Ron Rosberg, who is our cheap guy, he does this week in cheapness, and he said, "Leo, you don't want to paint the wall." He said, "You're not a painter. Buy a screen at Monoprice." It was $500. It was a good deal. So
Yeah.
and it's motorized. So I haven't put that up yet. That's the hardest part. And I have a projector, the Epson cinema display that I've had for some time.
6100.
Yeah. And that's a 3 LCD, 1080p.
Yep.
So
Nice projector, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a decent projector. Again, it's not going to be as bright, but I'll darken the room. I'm getting blackout drapes.
Excellent.
Yeah, and then so then the issue was, over time we'll talk about this, but I had to get the HDMI out of. So I bought an Onkyo receiver, the 616, and I was just telling you that it does some. It just came out, and so it has some of the newer stuff. And
I don't think
among
we've
other
reviewed
things,
it yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, I mean, it's not their high end. It's like $400. It's a. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's a low end AV receiver. It's kind of the top of their low end line.
Right.
But it has 8 HDMI ports, and you know me. I've got a Boxy box, a Roku box, an Apple TV, satellite box, Google TV,
Blu-ray player.
Blu-ray player. There's 6 right there,
Right.
and I'm sure there's a few I left out. So
You can never have too many HDMI inputs, so going for a bunch of HDMI inputs is great.
it has this new thing called MHL HDMI on the front, which is an HDMI that you can and Roku's going to make a USB stick that does everything a Roku box does, but it plugs into that kind of an MHL port. So you plug this USB thumb drive into this port, and suddenly you've got a Roku box hooked up, which I think is very interesting, isn't it?
That's very cool. I can't wait to try that.
Yeah, and it has Pandora, it has Spotify, it has all these internet radio stuff hooked into it,
Yep.
DLNA. So I can play stuff from my phone on the 120-inch screen,
Plus, you can use your iPhone as a remote.
and I can use and it has an iPhone app, which is pretty cool. So I'm looking for speakers because I realized, unfortunately, that the powered speakers, the audio engines I was using, won't work with it.
No. You could. I don't know if that AVR has what are called pre-outs, which are outputs from
It is one of the failings of this. It does have a way to get the audio out on a second channel, but only analog.
Only stereo.
No, only analog inputs.
Okay.
Which is weird, but maybe that's some sort of, I don't know what that's all about.
I think that's a copy protection issue.
Might be. And it's buried. I wasn't getting any sound, and I thought, what's going on? And it was buried deep in the manual. You must only use analog inputs for that.
Yeah.
So I went to this long way around to this plug, hometheater.com, because I said, I think I have to buy some. I didn't want to buy some speakers. I think I have to buy some speakers. I don't want to spend a lot of money, but I want to get. Again, this is kind of decide. I'm trying to get a relatively inexpensive. Or it's gotten more expensive than I had planned, but a relatively inexpensive home theater screen setup. So fortunately, your colleague Mark Fleischman had a review of these Emotiva speakers, and I'd heard good things about them before. So
Absolutely.
So I was able to. I don't have the 5-channel yet, but I have.
You have just the front 3 channels and a subwoofer.
But now my
And how
question
much
is,
that
can
cost
I
you?
use? It was under $1,000 for a center channel, left and right towers,
And a sub.
I have a sub, so I'm going
you
to
have
use
sub
my
already.
existing
Okay.
sub, and that's my
All right.
question. Do I have to match everything all around? Do I have to use their sub, their back channel speakers?
Their sub, I would say no. That's not as important. Their back channel speakers, I would say yes.
Okay, so I can use my sub because I have a bunch of powered subs lying around.
Yeah. No, I would definitely.
Apparently have been collecting them and didn't even know it.
No, I'd say your sub is fine. I do always recommend the same brand all around in the main speakers, front and rear, because you want to match the tonal quality. Every speaker has its own tonal signature, if you will, or tonal quality. And if you mix and match, then as a sound pans across the front or from front to back, its tonal quality changes, and you can hear that. Maybe not consciously, but
it might
you're
jump
aware
out at you that there's something weird going on behind. You know, last night we all went to see Roger Waters' The Wall at AT&T Park in San Francisco.
That must have been amazing.
Well, it's the first time. You know, he's been performing it in arenas, closed, indoor arenas. This is a stadium performance.
Outdoors.
Outdoors. I was blown away by the surround sound. So then this is really interesting. He uses, Roger Waters was with Pink Floyd. It's a Pink Floyd album, so of course, it's quadraphonic.
They were huge in surround. They were huge into it.
So I mean, there's helicopters flying around us, and I was watching the audience. Everybody's looking behind them. Where's the helicopter? Where's the helicopter? There's no helicopter. That's speakers all around us. It was remarkable.
Yeah,
truly
good
remarkable.
Surround sound is really something.
It kind of sold me on this, because I've been poo-pooing it.
Well, poo-poo no longer, my friend.
And now that I have this set up, I realize I do need a center channel for the voice because it's kind of creepy because I got it's a little weird.
Now, there are people who advocate what's called phantom center, which is if the dialogue, which is mostly in the center channel, gets played equally by the right and left, and thus it kind of sounds like it's sort of coming from the center.
Right.
I don't think it works nearly as well as having a real center channel.
I bought a center
speaker.
channel because I think it's... In fact, I did on this AV receiver, unless you set it intentionally that way, the left and right channels are not voice. They separate out the center channel on 5.1 encoded audio.
Correct.
So I'm watching a movie. I'm watching a movie, and all I'm hearing is the background noise. People are
hearing the
people are talking, but I'm not hearing it. And I'm thinking, okay, something's wrong here. And then I realized, I have to tell it it's a 2-speaker setup.
Right. You have to go in and tell it you don't have a center channel connected.
Right. So I think that also sold me. So you're winning me over bit by bit. You've always said, no, a good surround system is well worth it.
Well worth it.
And I guess if you've got a 10-foot screen in your bedroom, you might as well have a surround.
No, that's exactly right. Because what you're going for is immersion.
Yeah.
Right? You really want to be immersed in the story.
Yeah. Well,
and
I will be. I'll be underwater, let me tell you. Hey, hang on. I want to talk a little more with Scott Wilkinson, home theater guy. Hometheater.com is his website. He's got a podcast, too. We'll talk about it when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
All right, your live read, Leo, is not 32. All right.
Right behind me. It's right behind me. Look out. Here it comes. Oh, my goodness. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Our musical director, Kyle Benham. It's remarkable. If you want the playlist, we'll post it after the show on techguylabs.com. That's straight out of the wall. With us right now, our home theater expert, Scott Wilkinson. Scott Wilkinson is the online editor for Home Theater Magazine, hometheater.com. Joins us every week. He does a podcast, as I mentioned, every week as well, the Home Theater Geeks podcast on the TWiT network, twit.tv/HTG for Home Theater Geeks. And you're going to be an hour early on Monday, I know.
Yep. Normally I'm on 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 to 5:30 Eastern time. But tomorrow, or Monday, this is Saturday. So Monday I'm going to be on 1 hour earlier, 12:30 to 1:30 Pacific, 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern, because my guest is in Europe, and he said, can we please do it a little earlier than normal because it's so late for me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah.
So he's Jürgen Herre, chief scientist at Fraunhofer, which is the Fraunhofer IIS, Institute for Integrated Circuits, which is the company that developed MP3.
Ah.
So rather important.
Oh.
A rather important development in the history of music. So we're going to be talking about perceptual coding. That's what MP3 is. It's what's known as perceptual coding, which means if you can take away information that is, at least theoretically, not perceptible, then you can reduce the amount of data that you have to send with an audio file or even a video file. Now, he's an audio guy. He doesn't work with video files, but the same thing is true of video coders or codecs, which stands for coder decoder, Basically, you encode an audio or video signal, and you remove certain pieces of information that you don't think anyone's going to notice. And then you send it along. It requires less bandwidth to send, less storage to store. And then you can recreate it or decode it and listen to it or watch it. Now, MP3, believe it or not, throws away up to 90% of the information in an audio signal. 90%. I couldn't believe this when I first learned this.
If you
it was
think
like,
about it, it's compressing in some cases 11 to 1, 10 to 1. That's why 90%.
That's exactly right.
It'd
That's
have
exactly
to if you were going to get the sound to be 1/10 the size.
Exactly right. You can do it losslessly. You can compress audio so that it doesn't lose any information, but you only get a compression ratio of 2 to 1.
Which is itself amazing if you think about it. You get rid of 50% of it, and it sounds exactly the same.
Exactly the same, bit for bit the same. Yeah. But to get more than that, then you have to go down. So I'm going to be asking him about, bit rates versus quality, and what has happened since MP3, surround MP3. There are all kinds of interesting things that are now going on that he's been working on. So it should be a very interesting conversation.
That's Monday, 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern Time.
Yep.
On TWiT.tv. You got a question from a viewer that you want to, or a listener, I should say, that you want to answer?
Actually, I do. I've gotten several questions about setup disks, and I was going to tell you about this too, because now that you have your nice home theater system starting to happen, I want to make sure you understand this as well. When you set up a new video system, you want to tweak the controls, right? There are some basic picture controls called brightness, contrast, color, tint, and sharpness. Those are the 5. Sometimes they go by different names, but that's typically what they are. And when a TV or most displays come out of the box, it's set up to be as bright and as big as possible, because it's going to maybe be on a showroom floor. But you don't live on a showroom floor. You don't, do you, Leo?
No. No.
I didn't think so.
No,
not very many people
not at all.
do.
Yeah, one TV, that's all.
So you want to reset those, and there are some discs that will help you do it. If you're a newbie, if you're not an experienced home theater geek, I recommend what's called the WOW disc, a World of Wonder from Disney. And it has Goofy taking you through the steps of setting up your TV.
That's great. Move it a little bit to the left.
No, it's got some great tutorials explaining all sorts of basic things about home theater and how to set these controls.
Golly, your red is off axis. I'm not sure I really can handle that.
You don't need to handle that. Now, the one that I usually use is
probably the one that you told me to buy. I hope it is, because that's the one I'm using. Go ahead.
No. I think the one I told you to buy is Spears and Munsell High Definition Benchmark.
Actually, no. But that's the one you're
Joe Kane.
I bought Joe Kane's, which is something Essentials.
Right.
Digital Video Essentials. DVE. Yeah. So that's the one I've been using in the Blu-ray.
That's a good one. That's a perfectly good one. Okay. It has some tutorial information on it, and it's got great patterns to help you set up those controls. The other one, the third one that I generally recommend, is called HD Benchmark from two guys, Stacy Spears and Don Munsell. Spears and Munsell. Mm-hmm. Also a very good one. It doesn't have any tutorial information on it. It has explanations of what each pattern does, but it's meant for a bit more experienced users. The fourth thing I want to mention real quick is called THX Optimizer, which is something that you can find on many THX certified DVDs. So if you have the Indiana Jones boxed set, or if you have some of the early Pixar movies like Toy Story or Toy Story 2 on DVD now, this is standard definition, you have the THX Optimizer. The unfortunate thing is, I was just going over it in answering this question, and the THX Optimizer on DVD is not so great. I can't really recommend it because it's got some less than perfect patterns on it and less than perfect descriptions on it. The Blu-ray version is much better, but it's only available on one disc, which is Terminator 2, the Skynet edition.
Oh, well, I'll buy that. That was a good movie.
Terminator 2 is great, one of my favorite movies. And so if you get the Skynet edition,
So
you
it
get
actually
the
comes on the DVD?
Yep, or the Blu-ray,
Wow.
and it's in the bonus features.
That's
it's in
a
the
nice
extras
feature
section.
and a
It
good way to
is.
sell a movie.
Exactly right. That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
yeah,
Unfortunately, the DVD version, the standard def version, is substandard in my opinion. The Blu-ray version is not. It's
So
very
that's
good.
the one to get. Okay.
So that's the one to get. Go get Skynet edition of Terminator 2, and you can use that to set up your display and then have a nice movie to watch at the same time.
Okay, now adjust the dynamic brightness. So I, the receiver that I was talking about that I bought, the Onkyo 616, comes with a microphone and something called Odyssey.
Oh, very good.
And it's so you put the microphone where you're going to sit and then push a button.
Yep.
And it calibrates. This is just for audio, not for video, but it calibrates the audio.
That's right.
Is that pretty good? Does that work?
Odyssey, there is some debate about it. I personally think Odyssey works pretty well.
It's not a gimmick. Well, it is a gimmick.
It's not a gimmick. No. It's basically playing test tones automatically through your speakers.
Oh, the neighbors are going to love that.
Measuring the acoustical properties of the room and then compensating for those acoustical properties in the receiver.
Right.
It's not a perfect solution, but most people come to the conclusion that it sounds better than if you did nothing at all.
Interesting.
So I would definitely do it. In fact, you can do it and then turn it on and off and listen to something that you're familiar with.
Right, and see how it sounds. Yeah.
Turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, see which one you like better. You can always do that. But generally speaking, most of the people I talk to think it works pretty well and the result is better than if they had not done it at all.
We're going to. I'll continue to talk a little bit about this budget home theater setup. Right now, I've spent about what it would cost to get a 60-inch plasma display.
See?
Somewhere around $3,000. For a complete home theater, but I don't have surround yet, so that's going to raise.
You don't have the two. You don't have the two surround.
I don't have the back speakers yet.
Which from Emotiva is only going to be another $200 or $300 probably.
Right, not too expensive. I should have just bit the bullet. If I keep
agree.
it under $4,000, I'll be happy.
You know, I've always said that to get a decent home theater experience, in this case with a flat panel, maybe a 50-inch flat panel, you're going to want to spend about $2,000. You're going a little higher than that because
I have
you've got a
120-inch TV.
You have a huge screen.
I want to get a little drive-in movie speaker, the one that you hang on the window, and then maybe somebody in roller skates to bring me food while I lie in bed, and then I'll be set. Then I'll be done. That'll cost a little more.
Yeah. A drive-in theater in bed. I like it.
Home theater expert Scott Wilkinson joins us every week at this time, and you can find more at hometheater.com. What's your poll this week?
Well, my poll this week is: what is your download speed at home? I was talking last week in my podcast about streaming video, so I want to know how fast people get at home.
All right, Scott Wilkinson, hometheater.com. More to come. We'll go back to the phones in just a bit. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thank you, Scotty.
My pleasure as always.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could put Ozzy on roller skates. He could bring me a French fry in his mouth. Thank you.
Now I've got a bunch of people in the chat room. Dakota Wagger 82 says 5.5 megabits.
Everything lives. All the programs.
Jay is only 250 kilobits down. Wow. Kilobytes probably.
I'm gonna run. Thank you, Scott.
Right? Okay, my pleasure,
Take
Leo.
care.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Do what I do and use Go to my PC.
So I want to actually briefly, while we're talking, before we get back to the phone calls, talk a little bit about one of our fine sponsors. You guys leaving us? You're going away? All right. By the way, I love your card, Beth. That is so cool. That's just your personal card? Yeah. It's her calling card, and I won't show it but you can see it from a distance. It has a dial on it, which is so cool. And the phone number's in the dial like in the old days. That's really cool. I love that. I might steal that idea. Anyway, let's talk about ShareFile. It's very common, I think, that people are sending large files nowadays. It's kind of a regular thing. I know because of all of the file sharing services that are out there. But if you're in business, it might be a little bit of a different. You don't want to use, something designed for home use. In business. That's where I use ShareFile, and I have to say it's been really fantastic. I'll show you. One of the things that's cool about ShareFile is that you have a custom branded ShareFile account. So in this case, we have the TWiT logo on it. but you'd have your company logo on it. So it looks much more professional. It allows you to share files of almost any size without bounce backs. It does look like email if you're using Outlook. They have an Outlook plugin that looks just like email. So from the point of view of, if you're using it in your business, as we do here, so it just looks like they're attaching an email, but they're not. And that's really a cool feature of it. I want you to visit sharefile.com right now. It's from Citrix, so it's going to be completely secure. In fact, it's fully HIPAA compliant, complies with all the legal standards different industries require. You can not only collaborate and share files, but you can keep them confidential. You control who can see it, and you can withdraw permission to see it as well. So you completely control that file forever. It's a really great way for sharing files in business, whether it's documents, legal documents, medical records, that kind of thing. For a 30-day free trial plus double storage, I want you to go to sharefile.com and use the offer code TechGuy. Sharefile.com, and the offer code is TechGuy. I'm a big fan. I think you'll like it very much. Sharefile.com, the secure way to share files from Citrix. They figured they needed to be a better way to do it. If you go to sharefile.com, go ahead. If you go to sharefile.com, are you all leaving me? We're going to take Yeah, walk around and then come back. All right. If you go to sharefile.com, and you see right at the top there, radio listeners, click here. That's where you enter in the offer code TechGuy. Double storage and free month of sharefile.com. But make sure you put that promo code in. Boy, I hope they have it somewhere in there. Huh. That's interesting. Maybe we're the only people doing it. Heard us on the radio? Click here. Try it free. I don't think they're asking for well, if you see somewhere where there's a promo code, please use TechGuy. That's weird. I don't see that. First, let's see. Start sharing in seconds. First name, last name, email, company name, company website, phone number. I can't believe it. Oh, and maybe later when you select the plan. That's probably where they do it. Okay. All right. It's really cool. It's on the second page. Thank you. Offer code TechGuy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy, the very bad, evil, and wrong tech guy, because so many people are on hold. And here we are just talking about home theater and going crazy. I apologize. We're going to get to the phones right now. 8888 Ask Leo is the number of the website, techguylabs.com. You are all very patient. I thank you for your patience. Starting with Lewis in Hollywood. Hi, Lewis. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How you doing today?
Thanks for hanging on. I'm great.
My pleasure. First of all, before my question, I wanted to ask, could I get the iPad you were going to give to Henry that he doesn't want?
No. Isn't that funny? We were talking about iPads. I guess it was on Mac Break Weekly, on one of the podcasts that I do. And I noted that neither of my kids wanted iPads. They both use laptops. I think the iPads are more beloved by older people than, and I don't mean old people, but I just mean not by teenagers. I'm not sure why that is. But that seems, at least it's the case in my house.
Okay. So.
And no, you can't.
Right.
My old iPad 2 is going into our basement to control our video router.
Wow.
John Jammer B, my studio manager, just snarfed it right up.
I wanted to ask you about the controversial terms of service for G Drive.
Yeah, this happens every time somebody writes a terms of service. Facebook, Instagram, every single time. People read the terms of service and go, oh my goodness. So Google made a mistake.
If you, I can just
go ahead and read it. Google made a mistake. I think Google did the right thing because you've got to read the first clause in the terms of service. Google, we should explain the G Drive, Google Drive is what they've rebranded Google Docs, and it is essentially cloud storage. You get 5 gigabytes free. You can buy more. You could store, of course, all your Google Docs there, but it's more like Dropbox in the sense that you can also store other files. If you install the client on your desktop, you get a Google Drive. Just like Dropbox on your desktop. And one of the things that Google says in its terms of service that scares people is they kind of retain the rights to everything you put there, but I think in a very clear way. But go ahead and read the part that's bothering you. I'm going to pull it up.
When you upload or otherwise submit contact to our services, you give Google and those we work with a worldwide license to use, host, store, reproduce, modify, create derivative work, such as those resulting from translations, adaptations, other changes we make so that your content works better with our services, communicate, publish, publicly perform, publicly display, and distribute such content.
Right. Now I want to read you the paragraph right before it, which says you retain ownership of any intellectual property rights you hold in that content. In short, what belongs to you stays yours. Now, the reason that many services, I think you're right, Google made a mistake. I don't think Google is making a land grab, though.
I want to try an analogy on you, and that is, if I rent a monthly parking space...
No, it's not the same analogy. Now, stop. I'll tell you why it's not the same.
Okay.
When you put something on Google's storage...
Yep.
For technology reasons, they need to make copies of it. They need to cache it. They need to move it around. Their lawyers said, just assert all rights so that we don't get in trouble for that. They are not. In fact, you left out the last sentence, which says, the rights you grant in this license are for the limited purpose of operating, promoting, and improving our services and to develop new ones. They are not saying, we're going to take your stuff and do whatever we want with it.
So they're not going to publicly perform?
No, they're not going to publicly perform, display, or distribute your content, even though that line is in there. That's boilerplate. Now, this has happened every single time. Facebook did it. Everybody does this, and they all back down. And why Google didn't kind of proactively realize that this is going to be a problem is beyond me. They're just kind of...
Clearly a problem in the legal department, not realizing that they've got to update their contracts with technology, don't you think? It's like the law is always behind technology. Clearly, this boilerplate legalese is behind technology.
Google, everybody's talked about this. Nilay Patel, who is an attorney and writes for The Verge, a very smart guy, a very aggressive guy, says, wrote an article on this, which I highly recommend you read. Google says, and gave this statement to The Verge, as our terms of service make clear, what belongs to you stays yours. You own your own files. You control their sharing, plain and simple. Our terms of service enable us to give you the services you want so that if you decide to share a document with someone or open it on a different device, you can. Their lawyers looked at what Google needs to do technologically and wrote this boilerplate. Now, I agree it should be rewritten. It isn't written, it's written in a scary way, but every single time people read terms of service, it happened with Pinterest 3 weeks ago. It happens with every single company because what the lawyers say is, look, you're going to make copies, you're going to move it around, you're going to do this. You have to, in your terms of service, put this legalese. Normal people read the legalese and go, oh, the companies back down and say, no, look, we're not. This is so that we can do what you expect us to do. It is not so we can. Google has no interest in taking the document you put on Google Drive and publishing it publicly. They say very clearly, we don't want to do that. We won't do that. We can't do that. But if you want to share it with somebody, we need to have this legalese in here. Now, I think it should be rewritten. I agree with you in that. But don't be afraid of it. It's just this is what happens every single time. Say again?
I can't wait to see the terms of service for the self-drive car.
Oh, that will be crazy. And rightly so. Yeah, Louis, I think you know this. I think you've been around the block. You know that this happens every time, and somebody's going to fix it.
Yep. Thanks, Leo.
All right. Take care, Louis.
Bye.
Dropbox. In the Dropbox. They write it a little bit more cleverly. And here's the irony of it. Nilay Patel says, the language is friendlier than Google's, but it's actually more expansive since it's more vague. In other words, you might read the Dropbox policy, which says you retain full ownership to your stuff. We don't claim any ownership. We may need your permission to do things you ask us to do with your stuff. I love the words of stuff. See, stuff reassures people because lawyers don't write stuff. For example, hosting your files or sharing them at your direction. You give us, this is the key, you give us the permissions we need to do these things solely to provide these services. This is saying the same thing Google said in a much more friendly way, using the word stuff, for instance. Nilay, who is a lawyer, points out that it's actually a worse agreement because it's more vague and it leaves more open. Microsoft's SkyDrive. Same thing. We don't claim ownership of the content you provide in the service. Your content remains our content. You understand that Microsoft may need, and you hereby grant Microsoft the right to use, modify, adapt, reproduce, distribute, and display content posted on this service solely to the extent necessary to provide the service. That's the same thing Google's asking for. Same limitations. Exactly. Same limitations exactly. However, unlike Google, Microsoft says we might remove your content from the service anytime if you share content in a way that infringes others' copyrights. We may cancel or suspend your service. That's going a little farther. Google and Dropbox just say we'll comply with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. iCloud, same exact thing. These guys are all writing the same stuff. Apple does not claim ownership of the materials and content you submit. However, you grant Apple a worldwide, royalty-free, non-exclusive license to use, distribute, reproduce, modify. Doesn't this sound the same? Publish, translate, publicly perform, and publicly display such content. Trust me, folks, they're not stealing your content. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Can you please? How the world's gonna take anymore? In 10 years, we're gonna have 1 million lawyers. 1 million lawyers. 1 million lawyers. In 10 years, we're gonna have 1 million lawyers. How much?
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's very popular, and I probably should do the popular thing and say it's all the fault of lawyers. You know, it's not. It's actually the way it needs to be. It's just challenging because it's difficult stuff. We're talking with Lewis about the Google Drive terms of service, which is, frankly, if you look at it, in fact, I highly recommend Nilay Patel's article on The Verge. Nilay is a lawyer. I don't know if he's practicing, but trained as a lawyer, and wrote, I think, the most reasonable article about this issue of all. He says, in the end, the actual wording of these documents doesn't reveal much. And he's talking about Microsoft's SkyDrive, Apple's iCloud, Dropbox, Google Drive. They're all setting out to do the same thing, and they all accomplish their goals. What's really important, in other words, they need to. And in fact, the wording that scares you the most is probably the best wording, believe it or not, because it's the most specific. The article, which came out April 25th on TheVerge.com, is titled, Is Google Drive Worse for Privacy Than iCloud, SkyDrive, and Dropbox? And what he ultimately concludes after going through in detail what these terms of services mean is that, they've got to do this. These permissions are fairly standardized since the underlying copyright law itself is static. Companies like Microsoft and Google need permission from you to copy and distribute your content to servers around the world and to make these services work well. That's point one. They're not asking for something they don't need. They need these kinds of permissions in order to do what you want these services to do. Point two, there's a tension between friendly language and legal precision. So Dropbox is friendly, but frankly, because it's imprecise, gives them more rights. The thing we hate about lawyers is this kind of prissy wording is in fact is necessary because it's specific. He says drawing in sharp lines often requires aggressive wording, while we find, kind of soft language comfortable. Trust me, if you've ever been to a country that does not live by the rule of law, this is much more preferable. I know it's very popular to say kill all the lawyers, but really, truthfully, we should be grateful that we live in a system governed by laws and precise wording. And the fact that we can have this conversation is a result of that. Ultimately, he says, what's most important is how much trust you're willing to give away. The truth is, contracts are meaningful and important. I'm quoting Neelay again. But even the most noble promises can easily be broken. It's actions and history that have consequences, and companies that deal with user data on the web need to start building a history of squeaky clean behavior before any of us can feel totally comfortable living in the cloud. So, yeah, go ahead, read the terms of service. Try to read them like a lawyer to understand what they're really looking for and why they have to ask for those permissions. But ultimately, it comes down to who do you trust? And if you don't trust a company, you shouldn't be storing your data with them. And the best way to understand whether a company is trustworthy is to look at the history. I think this is a very well thought out, reasonable article. It doesn't drive as much traffic probably as the articles that say Google's stealing our stuff. That's going to get you more clicks, more hits, and that's why so many news outlets and so forth, went crazy over this, and they do every single time. At some point, it becomes, in my opinion, a little disingenuous on their part. They know better. These news outlets know better, but they want to drive traffic. So, yeah, it'd be more popular if I said, kill all the lawyers, Google's going to get you. But I think it's important to say, no, it's not the case. This isn't what they're asking for is completely normal. It's part of doing business. They're not going to take your stuff and make commercials out of it or publish it on the net. They've been very clear. Your stuff is your stuff. What it's going to come down to is, do you trust Google with your stuff? I do. But that's my choice, right? Mike in Syracuse, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for being so patient.
Well, I got a question. I'm an old school sysadmin, and I run my own website. I have my own server here in the house, and I built it and done everything.
Wow.
But here, everybody's going to the cloud. Everybody's going to hosting their websites on GoDaddy and different your sites like that. Why would I want to go to that as to just having, my own thing? That's what I can't understand.
Oh, I can explain it to you.
Okay.
And this transition, this is the first cloud transition. It happened a long time ago. Very few people ever ran their own web servers for several reasons. First of all, you're a sysadmin. Very few people are sysadmins. And as a sysadmin, I hope and I presume you know a lot about locking a system down, securing it, and protecting it. If you're running a server on your home network, what is a server? A server is a computer that is open to the world, saying, come on in, ask me for something, and I'll give it to you. And unless you know exactly what you're doing, if you're running a server of any kind on your home network, you're opening yourself up to attack. So that's number one.
I run Linux server CentOS, and I'm fairly, good locking it down and stuff like that. But so you're saying that? Well,
this is the first one. I'm going to give you several. So number one is running a server on a home network is risky. Because by definition, a server is open to the outside world. Number two is it uses more bandwidth than you probably have. Not merely downstream bandwidth, but upstream bandwidth. Most people at home have what we call asymmetric internet access. They have a lot more downstream than upstream, right? You might have a typical cable modem system might have 10 megabits down and 1 megabit up. A typical DSL system might have 5 megabits down and 384K up. That upstream is what that web server is using to get to the outside world, right? Most people don't have enough to serve more than a handful of people at a time. So unless you're buying a lot of bandwidth, you know, our servers that run my Tech Guy Labs site are sitting on a gigabit. I pay for a gigabit connection, 1 billion bits per second upstream. I can't afford that at home.
Gotcha.
So that's
number Fios.
Well, Fios is not so bad. What's your upstream on Fios?
35 up and 35 down.
That's pretty good. Now, again, the basic server at SoftLayer, who hosts my sites, is 100 megabits, so it's 3 times that. And if you buy a fancier server, it's more. It's a gigabit. So that's the other reason is bandwidth. You're using your upstream bandwidth to serve people. So a low-traffic server, no big deal, but it's not practical for a large server that serves the public. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. 8888 Ask Leo. It's funny. I don't get calls very much anymore. We used to a lot. Why shouldn't I run a web server in my house? Those are the basic things. First of all, you need a skill set. You need to be a sysadmin so that you can secure it and run it properly and keep it running. But that's not the hardest thing in the world. It's a great thing to learn. So, you know, running your own web server for that reason is a good idea. And I know a lot of young people who do that for that exact reason. Second, because there are security issues associated with running a server in your home because you're opening up at least part of your network to the outside world. Third, you need enough bandwidth. If you're doing a very low traffic server, no big deal. It's a great way to learn. But I could never run Tech Guy Labs out of my house. I don't have nearly enough bandwidth to do that. And finally, you should probably read your terms of service. Most internet service providers do not allow you to run servers. They want you to pay more for all that high-quality bandwidth that you're using. Fios might let you. I don't know what the Fios terms of service are. So that's basically, Mike. You know, if you want to learn how to run a server, a great way to do it. And most of the sysadmins I know and the high-end geeks I know do run their own servers. Now, this is a web server or an FTP server. If you're running a media server inside your network so that you can watch your media, not the outside world, that's different. That's something else. We're talking about running a public server. Let's say hi to Angela all the way up in Nova Scotia. Hi, Angela. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hey, Leo.
Hey.
I'm having trouble. I've been using Handbrake to get some movies onto my computer. But I've got some, I don't know, maybe Handbrake doesn't do this. If so, I'm missing what I need to do to get it done. But I've got some TV series, and I can't get them onto my computer. The chat room helped me out with some suggestions a few weeks back, but it still didn't work out. I'd get one episode, and it looked like I'd gotten the rest of the episodes from this disc onto the computer, but they were all the same episode.
What what is the source of the are they on DVDs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they're DVDs.
So when you run Handbrake, which is a great program, and I recommend it to both Windows and Mac users, Handbrake, HANDBRAKE.FR. It's France. And by the way, Handbrake by itself will not rip protected, that is commercial DVDs. You'll have to, if you want to do that, you'll have to get an additional program, also free, also from France, called VLC. That's from Videoland.org. And Handbrake tells you this. They used to do it, but they didn't want to get in trouble with the Motion Picture Association of America. So they said, we'll let these VLC guys get in trouble. But the two together, and everybody should have the two. They're both free, and they're very useful. Will rip, that is, copy the contents of a commercially recorded DVD, not Blu-ray, but standard DVD, onto your hard drive so that you can play them later. And in the process, remove any copy protection. This may be illegal in some jurisdictions. I have no idea if it's illegal in yours. Check. There, that's for the lawyers. So, Angela, this will do it just fine. The issue is that drop-down in Handbrake that tells you what you're ripping. So it's just just a question of you looking more carefully on your user interface. When you put a DVD in and launch Handbrake, Handbrake sees the DVD and then gives you a drop-down of all the different VOB files, the video files on there. You'll have to pick the right ones. And it'll only do one at a time unless you use the queue feature to queue them all up. So it's just a question of looking more carefully at how the interface is working. I admit it's not perhaps the most straightforward. But yes, if you have multiple videos on a single DVD, you have to tell Handbrake what to do. So look carefully in the source box at the very top of the Handbrake screen. Look very carefully at the source box. When you put that DVD in, you'll see and you click the drop down, you'll see a number of different ones. The other thing is you have to name each destination differently. This is Handbrake is it's free. It's free, so you don't get all the great features. They do have a queue feature that allows you to queue these up and name them individually so that you can rip them in one swell foop instead of waiting around for each. It'll do it, Angela. Trust me. Just mess around with the source settings. Jan in San Diego, our next caller. Hi, Jan. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you.
I'm going to try to do a quick run of questions because I came up with more as I was waiting, as usual. By the way, are you in Vancouver, or are you from there? Or?
No, I did a TV show. We're in Northern California. Petaluma is the name of the town. But I did a TV show in Canada for some years called Call for Help, and I did that out of Vancouver as well as Toronto.
Okay, and I seem to recall recently, did you do an Alaska trip? Or
several years ago, we did. I do cruises from time to time with InsightCruises.com.
That's what we're doing, the inside. And that was my original.
Oh, you're going to love it. It's beautiful.
Okay, we're ecstatic. But I have an iPad, so I'm trying to lighten up. So I got we ended up going for the Kindle Touch. We didn't get the lighted one. I figured I could survive without that. But I was curious to your opinion of the.
It's good for a book reader. It doesn't equate to the iPad.
Right. Well, it's the iPad. I just am trying to travel light, so I knew that. But my kids will have their computers probably, so I figure between four of us, we'll have.
You'll survive. Yeah. If all you want to do is read books, I think the Kindle's a good choice. I actually don't like the Touch. I got the cheapest one, the $79 Kindle. Works fine for me. It's small. It's compact.
That's versus the Nook, because that's what we were comparing.
I prefer it to the Nook mostly because I think Amazon is in it for the long haul, and I don't know if Barnes & Noble will be around. Who knows how long Barnes. But the Nook is fine.
Yeah, that's exactly what someone else said. And last thing is, I was going to do Hulu, but as I was waiting for you, I ran into Vudu, from, is it okay, Walmart, I guess?
Yeah.
And I'm just wanting to make sure, because I'm real careful. You have to put in a visa. And it's telling me connection untrusted, but it's HTTPS, and it's Firefox, Global Gateway.
Who's telling you the connection is untrusted? Firefox?
That's the message I'm getting, yeah. And so I suspect it's just extra cautious, but...
no, I wouldn't mess around with that. Did you enter it in yourself, VUDU.com?
Yeah, and I'm doing it on my iPad, so I wanted to be careful. I'm glad. It says, if you usually connect to the site without problems, this error could mean that someone is trying to impersonate the site.
Yeah, what that means is the certificate that you're getting does not match. Right. Where are you doing this at home? Are you doing this at home?
Yeah. And so
I would look at the certificate that you're getting. I don't know if you could. I don't know how to do that on the iPad.
It tells you. It takes you to technical details.
Oh, good.
And it just says, I'm familiar with firstdata.com from actual work, but I check out Global Gateway, GATEWAWE 4, and then firstdata.com uses an invalid security certificate. The certificate is not trusted because no issuer chain was provided.
I don't like that. I'm not sure what's going on there. This is on your home network?
I'm sorry?
This is on your home network? Yeah, when you see that, you should not give credit card data to that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm not sure why. I don't know if that's normal.
I don't use, my kids are real careful to use Firefox all the time.
Well, you're not using Firefox. You're on an iPad. But I would always take those warnings seriously, especially if you're being asked for a credit card number. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, kids. Maybe I'll talk about Gazelle. Take my mind off of this. Is it time to get some new gear, some new gadgets, some new gizmos? If it is, then it's time to get rid of the old, ring out the old, ring in the new with Gazelle.com. GAZELLE.com. Like the wildebeest, whatever that is, running through the African veldt. The gazelle. You know, the longhorn thing. Actually, that's their logo, which I love. If you go there, you can sell your iPad, your iPhone, your Android phone. Now they've really cut down on all the products. It turned out that 99% of all their business was in these categories: Apple stuff, the BlackBerries, the top Android phones, and Nokias. So if that's what you've got and you want to move it on, this is the time to do it. Here, let's just check. The other reason they did this is it makes it much easier. You just pick your product, get an offer. You can give it some information about the product in terms of its, whether you got the cables, if it's cracked, if it's functional, and all that. They'll give you a quote. Costs you nothing to do this. If that quote says, yeah, to you, then all you have to do is put it in a box. Actually, I'd do as many things as you've got lying around. I bet you have about 8 or 9 gadgets lying around. Put them all in a box. They pay the postage. The quote is guaranteed for 30 days, by the way. So you have time to find all your old stuff. And then you get paid fast by check, PayPal, or choose an Amazon gift card, and you'll get 5% more from Gazelle. It's a great way to get cash to upgrade. You get peace of mind, too, because they'll revise your offer higher if your product's in better condition than you thought, or if they're getting a better price for it. That happens all the time. I hear from people all the time. They say, wow, I love Gazelle. They quoted me this and they gave me that. It's kind of neat. It gives you a chance to get rid of the stuff that's clogging you have a gadget drawer, gadget closet, gadget rental facility. Get rid of the gadgets. Get some cash. GAZELLE.com. But don't delay, because you know what? Most of the time that gadget is not gaining in value. There are very few gadgets that are worth more tomorrow than they are right now. Gazelle.com. Give it a try right now. We use it. We use it a lot. I have to confess. I use it a lot. So she's not typing in the right URL. Well, that's really poor configuration on the part of Voodoo. These shirts, these were custom made for me by Scott Jordan at Scott Evest. It's a Scott Evest shirt, and I don't believe he ever sold these or has plans to sell them. But we are, don't do www. Well, what I would suggest is not do HTTPS at all, but just go to VUDU.com and then follow the process. It should automatically convert to HTTPS appropriately. Yeah. So just go to VUDU.com or www.VUDU. Doesn't matter. Just don't do HTTPS. Maybe I'll say that. You should never type in HTTPS by hand, or not.
Should we
rarely.
blame the government or blame society?
Or should we blame the images on TV?
All right, let's do the not 32.
Yeah, sorry about that. And I'll get that carbonite.
Oh, no worries.
Next hour.
Thanks, Leo.
Sure.
Blame Canada! Blame Canada! We need to form a full assault!
It's all Canada's fault.
Blame me for my son's stand.
It's Angela in Nova Scotia stealing everything from America. There's a wonderful TED Talk. You know about TED? TED, Technology, Entertainment, Design. It's a conference they have in Santa Monica every year. They have some amazing talks. And a guy named Rob Reed, who's actually a friend, really like this guy. He started Rhapsody, so he knows a lot about the music industry and copyright and so forth. And Rob did an amazing story, or a speech at TED, called Copyright Math. It's actually, I think the talk, it's about copyright math, but the talk is called the $8 billion iPod. And he talks about the true costs, well, he in a satiric way, talks about the true costs of copyright. You know, the record industry claims, the motion picture industry, they're all the same in my mind. The Motion Picture Association of America claims $58 billion in economic loss. I'm sorry, I can't even say it with a straight face. $58 billion in economic losses to the United States. And 373,000 lost jobs due to motion picture piracy. Wait a minute, say that again? $58 billion and 373,000 lost jobs. I don't know where they get these numbers. But it really doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. And Rob's speech lampoons this in a very enjoyable way. Highly recommend it. I'll put a link in the show notes to Rob's talk. Or you could just Google Rob Reid, R-E-I-D, and the $8 billion iPod, and it is very funny. Just makes no sense. Angela making a copy of a movie she already owns so she can watch it off her hard drive is not costing any jobs in Hollywood. I'm sorry, Hollywood. I'm sorry to give you the bad news. Before the break, we were talking about Voodoo, which is a great service. Our caller is about to go to Alaska on a cruise and wants to be able to take some TV with her. But she was getting a certificate warning and saying, well, I don't know if this site really is a site. What happens is when you are using a secure site, for instance, doing a financial transaction, there is a technology used for secure financial transactions on the net that involves getting a certificate that says you are who you say you are. And you get this from a trusted certificate authority. And your browser has a list of trusted certificate authorities. So whenever you go to a secure site, the site says, here's my certificate. It's like saying, here's my driver's license. Here's my certificate to your browser. And your browser looks at the certificate and says, did this certificate come from a trusted certificate authority, one in my list? And do all the details match the site we think we're on? And if so, without saying anything to you, it just goes on and you have a secure transaction. If there's something wrong, something fishy, it will give you the warning that our caller was getting. Yeah, stop. Whoa, hold on. Something's wrong here. Now, this can happen for reasons that don't have anything to do with the certificate or the site. For instance, if your computer forgot what day it is, reverted to 1970, for instance, the date that's on your computer will be outside the range of the certificate's authenticity. And so your browser will say, well, this certificate's expired, even if it's backwards, even if it's 1970. It'll say, this certificate's not good. And it'll pop up that error. So it could be it can be things that aren't related. One thing that I would caution you about is you want to make sure you go in the front door of the website you're going to. For instance, sometimes people type HTTPS, that's the secure web address, and that can actually cause this error. Because you may be going to a site that isn't HTTPS, or there may be other issues going on. So I don't type HTTP anything anymore. Don't do that anymore. Just type the name of the site you want to go to, vudu.com. That's all you need to do. vudu.com. No HTTPS. That could be part of the problem too. And then if you follow the process, you go to vudu.com and then you click the sign up button, then it will automatically take you to https://my.voodoo.com account create. That is then appropriate. Then you're all in the right place. But if you do it by hand, if you type, for instance, https://www.vudu.com, you'll get an error because, in fact, that's not the certificate site. Won't match the certificate. You'll get a certificate because Voodoo tries to give you or your browser the certificate, but the site isn't right. So it'll say, I can't verify the identity of this website. Who is this? The certificate is invalid. You may be connected to a site pretending to be Voodoo. Well, that error's your error, not their error. That's because you tried to enter in the site. Don't enter it by hand. Just go to the front door. Go in the front door. You could type www.voodoo.com, that's fine, or voodoo.com, but don't do the HTTPS for it. Let it do it, okay? That's probably why she's getting that error. In fact, I was able to generate that error by typing in https://www.voodoo.com and got that error. So that happens. That's normal, by the way. That's correct. It's just kind of a flaw in the system. But it's because you, the human, are trying to be too smart. Do not try to outsmart computers. You will lose. You will lose. You will lose. Mike in Riverside wants to play Motocross Madness 2. Is that a DOS game?
No, it's an old PC game.
Yeah, but did it run in Windows?
Oh, yeah.
So if it ran in Windows, chances are it'll probably run on Windows 7. Windows 7, like all Microsoft products, tries really hard to be compatible. This is actually, in some ways, Microsoft's Achilles heel. They try really hard to be compatible with every program ever written for Windows. Games are, of course, the most challenging. Because
it works on Windows 7. It's just the only problem is that it doesn't give me the graphic card selector, so I'm automatically using the software restoration or the standard graphics that came with it. And I think it's a direct.
You'd like to use a fancier video card with it.
Correct.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. I hate to tell you because it's not Windows, it's hardware. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Hour 3 of the Tech Guy Show, handling your tech needs in the best way possible, gently, with care and precision. Unless I'm not. In that case, it's not my fault. John in Huntington Beach, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, John.
Hey, how you doing, Leo?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Okay, I have a gateway that has Windows 7s in it, and basically I installed some NetZero software on it. And I got the NetZero software downloaded, and when I try to connect to the internet, an icon comes up and says that your modem appears to be in use with another program. Please quit all other programs on your computer. I was wondering if you can tell me something about that.
Boy, I don't know. Now, NetZero is dial-up, or used to be dial-up. Are you using their 4G service or their dial-up service?
No, I'm using their dial-up service.
Of course you are, because it said your modem's in use. Do you have a modem?
I have a telephone plug in the back, so I assume I do.
So you've never used a modem on this computer, but you have a phone plug, so you figure I probably have a modem.
Yeah, because I had a previous system that had XP, so I assumed that had a modem. So like I said, I got a gateway that has a Intel Pentium on it, and obviously I'm having, because like I said, I have the software downloaded, and then when I want to connect, it appears I need to disable the program, or the modem may not be configured properly.
I would what I would do, I want to make sure you have a modem. You may have plugged your phone into the Ethernet port, not a modem port.
Okay.
I would make sure, first of all, you have a modem in that computer.
Yeah, because the thing is, I talked to my buddy down the street, and we went to device managers, and we were looking over the software.
That's what I was going to say to do. So what, did you see a modem?
No, I didn't.
You don't have a modem, dude. That's probably the problem. That'd be my guess. I'm not sure what to do now. Can you go? Let's do the time warp again. Can you go to the store and buy modems anymore? Maybe if you could find a store that still sells modems. You could. I mean, it's an old enough computer that it might have come with a built-in modem. Another thing you could do, maybe you and your friend can open up the computer, look inside, and see if that thing that you... See, the problem is that the Ethernet port, the network port, looks very much like a modem port. It's a little bigger. But it's so similar that you could easily confuse it. So I would open it up and look in there and see what that card that you're plugging your phone into is. See if it's a modem card. If it's not, if it's on the motherboard, it's probably not. And if it's not, then you need to buy a modem, and you need to find a store that still sells modems. Or you could go on eBay and probably find a modem that way. They're charging at the net zero. I'm just looking here. Dial-up. Let's see what they charge for dial-up. $9.95 a month. You know, for a couple bucks more, you could actually get DSL. It'd be so much faster, so much easier. You wouldn't have to, you know, when you get online, you wouldn't have to take up a phone line and hear the 12 bucks a month for DSL Extreme. I think I'd probably call DSL Extreme or visit, well, you're not online, so just call 86, what is it, DSL Extreme? Let me look. I should know by now. 866, the number 2, GetNet. They're a sponsor. I should give you that disclaimer. But to get some DSL, I'll be a lot faster. Tim Northridge, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Tim.
How you doing, Leo?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing good. You know, I saw you had your segment there regarding that secondary output on your receiver, and that's called a Zone 2. And the reason that is, what that's for is for basically a secondary audio source. For instance, you're watching your movie in your bedroom, and you want to listen to your iPod and, you know, outside by the pool, so that allows you to do that.
It's a little confusing. It's a little confusing because the implication, in fact, it even says that you could have the same audio that you're listening to in Zone 1, the main, you know, home theater, throughout the house in Zone 2 and 3. But then in fine print it says, unless it's digital, in which case you can't. You can only use analog inputs. Is that copy protection? Why do they do that?
You know what? It's typically priced. The higher-end receivers will allow you to take, for instance, like digital coax or an optical audio and convert that.
Because the audio that I wanted in Zone 2 was, of course, coming in through HDMI from my cable box. I just wanted to use Zone 2 instead of the main zone because Zone 2 had a preamp out instead of the amplified, you know, speaker wire out. And by the way, as long as we're talking, since you sound like an expert, Tim, why do we still use speaker wire? What's the story with that? I have to strip wire and there's copper and then I have to get it in that little hole. And what's the story about that?
Well, maybe it'll change because the price of copper is going through the roof. But I'll tell you, you know, when we're just now getting HDMI to be reliable, we had a whole, you know, grip of, I won't say the name of the company, but we had a whole bunch of, you know, wireless HDMIs, TVs that we had a graveyard full because we couldn't sell them.
Really? Are you a home theater installer? What do you do?
I am. I'm a custom home theater installer, yeah.
Now,
that's what I do.
I would love to see banana plugs replace speaker wire. Is that ever going to happen?
You know, you can use them. You know, the banana plugs are great.
I don't want to strip wire. I can't. You know, I'm old. I can't get it's like threading a needle.
Yeah. You know what? We still use them if they're good quality ones. It does change the sound a little bit, but you're only going to hear it on a higher end system because it creates a little more resistance.
So you're saying that whole thing with speaker wire is high end?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, you can spend thousands of dollars on silver-coated speaker wire, and usually it's for video more than anything else.
It seems so primitive. It seems so primitive.
Yeah. Yeah. You're still seeing, you know, a big changeover now, especially with, you know, a lot. To answer your question, especially like if you're using a source that's only digital out, there are companies that make converters so that you can use your Zone 2. For instance, Apple TV now has gone to only HDMI out. That's
I'm not going to use Zone 2 anyway. I was trying to do a workaround. I'm getting unpowered speakers, and I'm going to use that thing as it's intended to, as an amp.
Absolutely. Well, you can also, too, if you want to add, usually they just give you like a cheap, 20-watt, output for like 2 speakers, but you can, I believe on that receiver, you can have, a secondary amplifier and run several sets of speakers.
Oh, I could do that, of course. But this is it's a $400 AV receiver. It's not the most expensive in the world, but it felt that way to me. But it does have 7-1 sound, and it's 100 watt per channel, so I thought it would be fine.
Yeah, that's a good little receiver. I mean, for the money, you've got a good little.
See, that's what they. This is what the high end guys all say. That's a good little receiver for the money. For the money, well, considering what you spent, that's not bad. It's not going to sound too bad, is it? Anyway, my goal, you understand what I'm trying to do, Tim, and you're a pro, so of course you probably set up home theater systems $10, $20, $30, $50, $100,000.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to do a projection, big screen, 120-inch screen for roughly the cost of a 50 or 60-inch plasma. Just trying to see if I could do that. I set myself this goal.
Absolutely. There's a couple of good things. I mean, I noticed the part about the paint. You know, there's
the screen goo. I was going to do screen goo.
Yeah. Nah, I don't think so.
No, I bought a screen.
The right thing. Well, you know what? You're on the right track, too, because a lot of people, especially with audio, they forget about how important it is for room treatment, and that's the same thing for video.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to, keep the reflection. A lot of times, people say, I need a different projector because I need more lumens, and what they're really competing with is the reflection off the wall coming back.
Yeah, ambient light, sure. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
All right, Leo, Carbonite read here. If we can fit it in.
Yes. Thanks to peanut butter jelly. Woo! You know, I think one day Kyle Benham, musical director who has plucked this viral video out of obscurity and returned it to your brain as an earworm which you will not be able to get out of your head for the next 48 hours. Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome.
One of these days, let's do, maybe tomorrow, all earworms for our bumper music. You know, Chocolate Rain and you know that one? You know what that is? Hamster Dance, right? See, now I've removed peanut butter jelly time from your brain. Beth and Dan, who are in our studio audience today, are both giving me dagger looks. What are some other ones that we could play tomorrow? Let's play some more like viral video music.
That's a good tease for tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Bird, 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 and bird is a word. Nyan Cat. Brody Quest. Beth says, I'm not listening tomorrow. And, of course, the best viral song of all time. Friday, Friday, it comes before Saturday. We'll play them all tomorrow. Why not? Let's do that, Kyle. And I'm warning you all. It'll be Tune Out Sunday. The Macarena? No. Chocolate Rain. Some stay dry while others feel the pain. Ann in Lake Forest, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Ann.
Hi, Leo. I have a couple of questions. I'm trying to go paperless, and I just purchased a laptop, and I would like to get Carbonite, but I would also like to find out some information on password software and encryption software for Windows Home Edition.
Oh, I love it, Ann. Ah, you're so smart. You're asking all the right questions. So,
well, thank you.
One of the reasons people don't use good passwords is a good password's hard to remember. So the best way to handle this is not to use dumb passwords, but to use a password manager that remembers your passwords for you. And then you only have to remember one password, the password for the password manager.
Right.
The one I recommend and use and really love, it's been vetted many times by our security guru, Steve Gibson. It is the best solution. Free, or you can buy a pro version for $1 a month. So it's very affordable. It's called LastPass. And one of the reasons, LastPass.com. One of the reasons I use LastPass is it works on Windows, Mac, Linux, iPhone, Palm Pre, Symbian, Android, BlackBerry, everywhere you could possibly want. And all of these passwords are remembered across all of these platforms. So it really is the great solution. So I highly recommend LastPass.
Okay.
One little tip on passwords, by the way. You know, the best password is long and totally random and a combination of letters, numbers, punctuation. But that's, of course, very hard to remember. LastPass will generate that style password for you and remember it for you, so it'll make good passwords. But one thing Steve has noticed, and this is really kind of interesting, is you can use a password that is sort of good and pad it. Length is the most important thing. If you make up a pattern that you use, I have a pattern that I use that is old zip codes, not my current zip code because that would be kind of guessable, but a zip code from my childhood For some reason, I can't ever forget the zip codes of my childhood, of my youth. So that's adding, 5 digits. I add that to any password I use. Now, if you knew my technique, you would know how to do that. But it just makes every password 5 digits longer and much, much stronger. So just a little hint. Make good passwords. But you can make even a kind of rotten password better by padding it with 5 or 6 extra things. It could be a pattern that you know, dot, dash, dot, dash, dot, dash, that. It could be anything. As long as you know what it is, you remember it, and you use it consistently, it makes everything a little bit better. You shouldn't use the same password on multiple sites, obviously. LastPass is a solution. Now, you asked about encryption. When you say encryption, do you mean for email, or you want to encrypt your hard drive? What do you want to encrypt?
Well, what I want to do is scan all my documents. If I have hard copy from the past or things about previous homeowners, sale of homes or purchase of homes, and pay stubs, I kind of would like to scan those in, but I want each one of those files to be encrypted.
Right.
So
most operating systems have built-in encryption. Microsoft Windows has BitLocker. Apple has File Vault. But, the one I like and I use and I recommend is free. It's called TrueCrypt. And it's open source, which means that you can be assured there's no funny business going on. There's no backdoor for the federal government. There's no, it's done properly and so forth. And it's free. TrueCrypt.org. You can encrypt your whole drive. You can encrypt a single folder. You can encrypt an individual file. What I would suggest is making a folder that is your encryption folder. And when you put things in that folder and then log out of Windows, it's all encrypted and stored safely.
Now, so that brings up 2 questions. Windows Home Edition does not have the capability for encryption.
That's right. You have to get the Pro version for BitLocker. TrueCrypt will work better anyway.
Okay. And so now will that affect a backup system like Carbonite when I do encrypt those files?
Well, it does a little bit in the sense that it will then, Carbonite will back up those encrypted files as a blob because it can't tell that what's within TrueCrypt is individual files. So
say I lost everything and then loaded it back on
it would be restored
Carbonite.
It would be restored as an encrypted blob.
But would I be able to open up and read it or not?
Yes, you would.
Oh, okay.
As long as you remembered your passphrase and you saved the critical certificate information, you'd be fine.
Okay, and so then if I have the password software, is that affected by Carbonite at all?
No. Now Carbonite has encryption. Carbonite does have encryption built into it, strong encryption built into it. You can use Carbonite to back up those files and have them encrypted. Only you have the key. Carbonite does not have the key. So you can do that.
Okay.
So
all right.
You can use Carbonites if you wish. Carbonite is a really good... I think you are so smart, Ann. You're doing all the right things. I do like TrueCrypt, but and Carbonite will do encryption. And Carbonite, if you look at their site, will tell you what features of Carbonite you lose if you use this strong encryption, because there's some things they can't do when encryption's turned on. In fact, this is one of the reasons companies like Dropbox don't, in fact, offer this kind of you control the key encryption. They say, well, we could offer it. It's not that we can't offer it. We could, but then we wouldn't be able to do some things that you might want us to do, like share files and so forth. So I like Carbonite. In fact, let me do a commercial for Carbonite. Oh, dag-nabbit. Let me take a break, then do a commercial for Carbonite. Thanks for the call, Ann. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More still to come on the Tech Guy Show. Our gadget guru, Dick DeBartolo, joins us. The Gizwiz in about 10 minutes, 15, 47 after the hour. But Lucy's next on line 3 from Los Angeles. Hi, Lucy.
Hello.
Hello.
Wow, I'm surprised I got on. Thank you so much. My question is, I have boxes and boxes of photographs that I've accumulated over the years. I'd like to share them with my family. Now, it's so difficult to just scan a picture and then send it by email. Not really difficult, but really
time-consuming. Yeah, it's easy, but it takes a long time.
What software program would you recommend for me to load a bunch of pictures, and then to make it easy for the recipient to download them, instead of one by one, doing them, just be able to download them all. I'll send like a dozen at a time.
Yeah, and I mean, if you continue to want to scan them, I can tell you some solutions. But frankly, if you have hundreds or thousands of these, what we did, we had the family slides. I had years ago, I'd put them all in carousels. The Kodak projector, the carousel. And I had maybe 10 carousels. So that's over 1,000 slides. And what we did is we brought them to a service bureau. And I think it was 50 cents a slide. I mean, it's not cheap. But for 50 cents a slide, they clean it up, they color correct it. They gave me a DVD with all the images on it. It was wonderful. In fact, what we did is we made copies, and we gave a copy of the disc to everybody in the family.
Oh, how marvelous.
And I tell you, it was worth, I think it was $500 or $600. It was worth it. I was very glad I did it. Now I don't have to worry about those carousels collecting dust in the attic. Everybody's got a copy of the pictures. And then I put them online, and there are lots of ways to do that. Flickr, Yahoo's Flickr photo sharing service is good. There are lots of free ways to do that. Google's now giving free storage for Picasa, which is an excellent program, Mac or Windows, Picasa.com. And then they have a website, Picasa.
For them to download?
Well, they don't even need the software. You might want to download the software, go through the pictures, make them in albums, name them and stuff. And then you press a button, and it uploads it to Picasa Web, and you just send them the link. And they go online to Picasa Web, and they see all the pictures.
Well, what if they want to print them for themselves or just accumulate them for themselves on their own computer?
They can download them from Picasa Web. I don't know if Picasa... I would bet Picasa Web offers a printing service, but I don't know off the top of my head. Add photo. Yes, Picasa Web. If you see a print you like on Picasa Web and you want to print it out, there's a button on the website that you select that says print, and it will you can make a print of the photos.
Okay.
So
and if they just want to download them, just so that it's
same thing. Same thing. They can download it as well. So you can add a caption. You can print it out. What I did was I put them on a paid service called SmugMug that I use, and a lot of professional photographers use. And the reason, and then SmugMug will let you put it on a mouse pad. It'll let you put it on a mug, as well as print, giant prints out of it. So I don't think anybody in my family has actually made any prints, but if they or mugs or mouse pads. But if they wanted to, they could. So that was kind of fun.
Oh, great!
Yeah,
now, what is the service that you said something about sending them? On
there's a national service that a lot of people use that they like quite a bit. It's not the one we used. We used a local one, but it's called Scan Cafe.
It's
SCANCAFE. They clean them up. They correct them. They remove dust. And it's cheap. It's 29 cents a photo.
Oh. Okay.
And they have a shoebox service. I think you buy the shoebox, you buy a box, and anything you can fit in the box, they'll do.
Oh, my gosh. Now, how can I get a hold of them?
Oh, just go online, scancafe.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's a good service, high quality service. They will take videos as well if you've got old movies or VHS tapes, Super 8 movies, that kind of thing. They take slides, they take negatives. Yep.
Slides?
Yep.
Okay.
And as little as 22 cents an image, and they do if it's a slide, they'll do better scanning. They do higher quality because there's more data on a slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Oh yeah, I would. It takes so long, Lucy. You probably never get through them all. You could do every day. I'll do 10 before I go to bed.
Yeah.
But it just takes. It's grueling. So if you don't have the money, do it yourself. But frankly, I think it's a great idea. Just 22 cents an image. It's worth it.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Lucy. I'll pull up. So if you actually, I think I've password protected all my family photos on SmugMug. That's the other thing, of course, that becomes an issue. You probably want to keep them private. And so almost all every photo sharing service I know of has private password accessible folders. Certainly Flickr does, Picasa Web does. I think Picasa, because it's free storage, and I think Google's going to be around for a little while, is probably a good choice. We're going to take a break. One thing very important that you do if you do these scans is you make backups, right? You do not want to lose. That's why I gave discs to everybody in my family. We'd all have to lose the photos to lose them. And I uploaded them. And I used Carbonite. So now I feel fairly certain that the, $500 or $600 investment I made into these slides, there was only one copy of these slides in the attic. Now I know they're going to survive. Backup's so important. Let me talk about Carbonite a little bit. Carbonite.com. Use the offer code Leo. You could try this Mac or PC free for 2 weeks. If you decide to buy, they'll give you 2 months free when you use the offer code Leo. What is it? Well, it's automatic online backup. You don't have to, once you install it, you forget it. It's just constantly backing up. Now, I would recommend that you back up only the stuff that you really can't, you don't have a copy of anywhere else, like those pictures, like your financial records, emails, things that you really can't afford to lose. But it's kind of peace of mind because $59 a year for one computer is less than $5 a month. They have multiple computer programs. They also have plans for external drives and so forth. They're very affordable. You can use encryption, as I mentioned, so you can make sure it's completely private. I'll tell you, this is such a good way to back up stuff. If you've got a Mac or PC and you've got data that you don't want to lose, you've got to have Carbonite. Try it free for 2 weeks. Use the offer code Leo. If you decide to buy, use Leo again. You get 14 months for the price of 12. You got to back it up to get it back. Do it right with Carbonite. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Ryan is in Tallahassee, Florida, our next caller. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for taking my call. I'm a first-time caller.
Thank you.
Hey, my question to you is I'm trying to import audio from cassette tape to my computer so that I can burn a CD of some music. I've done music, and I've recorded it onto cassette tape, but I'd like to transfer that audio into my computer to make it digital and record a CD.
A lot of people want to do this. Do you have a cassette player?
Yes, I do.
There is a really easy way to do it. If you were going to do a lot of these, there's hardware to do it. And if you wanted to just do it once, you could probably do it with the sound card in your computer. Hang on, I'll give you the 2 different ways you might want to do this when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
I can't even say this with a straight face. This was the first cassette tape I ever bought.
I see the question.
You've come a long way, Kyle. A confession from Kyle Bennett, my musical director. This was the first cassette tape he ever bought. In my day, we bought 78s, and we were glad. Kyle will put together all the songs he played today at the end of the show. Put it up on his Google Plus account. That's Kyle Benham, Benham, Kyle. And, of course, then we'll also put it on our Tech Guy Labs site, techguylabs.com. So if you and tomorrow for Mother's Day, no, you don't think so, Beth? You think it's a bad idea? She's shaking her head like I'm inflicting something. We are going to for Mom. We're going to as our music. We're going to have only like the big hits from viral videos of years gone by. Songs like "The Hamster Dance" and "Badger Badger," "Earworms," "Peanut Butter Jelly Time." Those will be fun. We had a caller, Ryan in Tallahassee, has cassettes and wants to convert them to a CD or DVD. Or this first step, of course, is to take that cassette and make it digital. And you do that. Well, there are a couple of ways. Crosley, remember that name? Maybe you people of my vintage might remember it. They were the company that used to make old school radios. And now I think it's probably a different company. They got in the business of making devices that digitize cassettes or albums. They actually can even burn DVDs or CDs from these. If you go to CROSLEY.com, they've just gotten into this business. They have jukeboxes, turntables, all sorts of wild stuff, including a cassette deck. If I can find it, let me see if I can. I'm looking on the site. That will burn a CD from a cassette. Now, that would make sense if you were going to do a lot of them. But if you're not going to do a lot of them, I don't know if that's a sensible thing to do. Because you already have what you need, probably. You just need a cassette player. Take the audio out. You could do it from the headphone jack if there's no other way. Put that into the audio in of your sound card on your computer. There's a free program that I like called Audacity, Audacity. You can download it from SourceForge, I think, Audacity. And it will record... the input, in this case, what's coming out of your cassette player into your sound card. You can take it and edit it, cut it up into cuts, and Audacity will even burn it to a DVD or a CD or just make MP3s out of it. Audacity works on Windows and Mac. There are, commercial programs that will do this as well, but Audacity's free, so start with that. In fact, the Crosley stuff all comes with Audacity. Audacity.sourceforge.net. So that's really all you need. You probably if you have a computer, you already have what you need. Dick, do you remember your junior prom?
Well, it was last Friday, so it's very clear.
Right. It's fresh in your mind.
It's fresh in my mind, yeah.
Dick
I'm still waiting for the pictures to come back from the Photoshop.
What's kind of interesting, Dick, you've been writing for Mad Magazine for a very long time. I literally grew up reading Dick's stuff in Mad Magazine.
Yeah, since high school.
Well, because you started...
I just had 50 years, actually.
Wow. You started when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And so
in the womb, I sent out my first thing. I said, Mom, could you mail this?
It was he wrote a little piece. It was called "Womb with a View." It was just great.
That was it. They made it into a movie.
They made it into a movie later. You have, in a way, you have ushered many a junior through their high school experience. You certainly gave me moral, kind of the moral turpitude to survive in this world.
You're blaming this on me now? Wait a minute.
So, give us a gadget, Mr. Dickie D.
Okay, well, tomorrow is Mother's Day.
Yes.
You've been called a mother many times. I've been there for half of them.
Yes, mostly by my staff, yeah.
Okay, so I didn't have a specific Mother's Day gift, so this is a gift that may really come in use tomorrow because a lot of families will be cooking for Mom.
Yeah,
those families too cheap to take Mom to a restaurant. And so the traditional dinner for Mom, you have all the old plates, the family heirlooms, and then someone drops the platter or the gravy pitcher.
Oh, no.
And the family goes into Great Depression. Oh, no, this is 100 years old.
Oh, you broke it. Oh, what are we going to do?
That's where you go to ibreakplates.com.
No.
I know. I love this. You send it to them. No, they don't glue it back together. They break it more, but they make pieces of jewelry that every member of the family can then wear.
Remember that time when you broke the platter at Mom's house for Mother's Day? Here's some jewelry to remind you.
Exactly. Well, that happened in our house, but it's very hard to make jewelry out of paper plate pieces.
So this would have to be China.
This would have to be, well, yes, you would like it to be China. They make cufflinks for men, and they make pendants for women, and they make wine stoppers. And prices range from about $25 to $65. But I think it's a great solution if you break something that's really a family heirloom for the family to share in it, and it's not such a tragic event.
I love this idea. And it actually ties back to an Etsy store that she has where she sells all this stuff. And it's very affordable.
Yeah, $25 on up.
Juliet Ames and ibreakplates.com. What a great idea for a gift. I love that. Happy Mother's Day, by the way. Now, your mom has passed on, I believe, right?
I hope so, because we buried her.
My mom's still with us. Thank goodness.
I know. You know what? I'm still paying off that $10 a month thing. She keeps calling me. He gave me, and it lasted 1 month. I said, I know, Mom. It's, it was free the first month.
Dick actually has a better relationship with my family than I do, and I'm very grateful to you. Thank you.
No problem. No problem.
Stick around, Dickie D, because we're going to do our weekly daily GizWiz podcast as we always do, right after the TV show. And is this a TV show? I'm sorry.
No. This is
I
the
just
radio.
promoted myself. Yes, it's the Tech Guy TV show. No, it's actually
it's the TV without the picture, too.
It's better that way. We leave it to your imagination. I'm really good looking. And buff, too.
Mm-hmm.
Dick, no comment from Dick. Hang on, Dick. We're going to do the GizWiz in just a little bit, but right now I have time, I think, for maybe one more call. Curtis, Glendale, California. You're it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello?
Hey, Curtis.
Yeah, Leo, yes. Hey, I'm a long-time listener and a great fan of yours. I use Yahoo for email, and the Yahoo servers were hacked, and guys got into my email address and an address book, and he's been sending out.
Yeah, it's really common, and I don't know why it happens more with Yahoo than others. I don't think it's that they're getting hacked. I think that you're getting hacked, but that the Yahoo security process is not very good. For instance, I would be very careful of the secret questions. Use something that's not guessable. For some reason, Yahoo Mail gets hacked a lot. First thing you need to do, Curtis, immediately is change your password. I'm sure you've done that, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
But I'll change it again.
No, well, yeah, maybe change it again, and then you might want to look at your secret questions for password recovery and maybe make them not so easy to guess. There's nothing you can do at this point except send messages to your friends saying ignore those other messages. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.